Hello. Julie Bartkus here. Welcome to Get Connected with Julie Bartkus and my fantastic co-host, marketing guru, Mr. Michael Tasner. Hey, Michael, great to be back with you.
Yeah, definitely. And it's been 2 weeks. I had my fun little surgery in fall, and then you had some stuff going on. So happy to be back with all of our listeners and get back at our cadence here. So I'm excited.
Yeah, right. Get our mojo back going here a little bit with helping our owners and directors transform their programs. And that's what Get Connected is all about. We're here to serve you. And typically we come live Wednesdays at 1 o'clock Central Standard Time for about an hour. And we really want to, help you grow your program, get to the next level where you go in spite of the pandemic, in spite of COVID, in spite of anything that you're going through. We really want to show you the possibilities of what you can do. And today we've got an incredible topic for you. It's frightening phone skills that cost you new enrollments and might even cost you some of your current clients too, if that phone is picked up in the wrong way. And I know I call a lot of childcare programs, my team does. And I know, Michael, you call a lot of programs as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, we listen to hundreds of calls every week.
Yeah.
So and as we were saying, the topic for today, I'm almost thinking that the frightening phone skills could also cost potential applicants for jobs and things like that. So and if they're calling in and they're like, geez, that person answered the phone, sounds like they're all doom and gloom today. And because that's obviously always a hot topic. I think that'll be a 365 topic of hiring, recruiting, and all of that good stuff. But just phone skills in general. And I know that I think you've done it kind of at random, and I've done it at random as well, where I've just Googled the city and called a couple of centers and just kind of quizzed them. And usually, not all the time, but usually I'm like leaving the call saying, yikes. Like, I mean, if that is your like front of the house and that, if that's one of the first steps in someone chatting with you, that's going to be a little bit of an issue for you.
Yeah, there's a couple aspects to look at. I mean, one is how our phone's being answered when you're live. And then another one is, well, what's your recorded message? What kind of message is that sending to people who are calling in? And one time here during a mentorship meeting with my clients, and sometimes I have my clients over to my home here, and we sat around the table and we just called each other's centers and listened to the recorded message and then evaluated it, critiqued it, and then recorded a new message so that we would really be projecting that enthusiasm, that excitement for the vision to reel people in, to get them involved with what we're doing, even at that first phone calls. It's so important.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great call, just a great point, because and it's really just looking at the entire process of anything that relates to the phone and anything. And obviously, from my standpoint, I'm always looking at, I mean, how are they doing when they're working leads? So the company that I run, Local Childcare Marketing, drives leads. So I want to know, are these leads, are they being handled well? Are they being given good rebuttals? For example, I mean, if the parent jumps to, hey, here's my name, can you tell me a little bit more? But really, I'm just interested in the rates. How does the director, the receptionist, even the owner, how do you handle those things? So, I mean, from my standpoint, that's what I'm listening for. But as Julie was saying, well, what if someone calls in at noon and somebody else calls in and then it goes to voicemail? What does that voicemail say? What is the energy? What is your process?
Yeah.
So just auditing the whole process to see, are there some leaks that are occurring in your process that are costing you money? They're costing you enrollments? The current parents calling in and they have something and they try calling 3 times, but your phone waiting isn't working or something. Like, there's all these little areas that can really start to de-ravel your center pretty quickly.
Absolutely. And I think phone calls, and when somebody calls you, it's like the first thing that they're going to hear, and it's the first impression that they're going to have, and it's going to help them make the decision, like, oh, well, do I even want to go into that place? And I know sometimes when a director answers, and I know we get crazy busy, right? And this is a really tough industry because you're multitasking. You might have a child in one arm trying to pick up the phone with another, but that's also your livelihood. And you got to remember that grade A customer service is so important. And it starts from the very first time that phone is answered, whether it's live or whether they're hearing a recorded message. So really look, and I can give you some tips before we wrap up today. If you're interested in some tips on how to make your message great, let me know. Yep, Julie, I want some tips. And we'll make sure that you get some rock solid strategy in place so that you can leave the show, listen to your message, and then make it 100 times better. I'll give you those tips. And I know Michael and the work that he does, the follow-up process is so important, and having those skills is just a very important part of being able to close them into becoming a client.
Oh, definitely. And before we I know we've already kind of dived in, but or dove in rather, but I know that a couple of people on our last episode 2 weeks ago, and obviously we've given a bunch of other resources over the last couple of months. I mean, I'd love to just kind of have you tell our listeners a little bit more, some of the things that you're up to, some of the work that you're currently doing. Obviously, it can relate to this topic. It can relate to any other topic, but I want to make sure that for the people that want some extra help, that need some extra help, they want coaching, they want to be in a mastermind, they need help with hiring, or I mean, you do all these different things really at either a one-to-one level. You've got masterminds. So I guess give us a little bit of your not even commercial, but just tell us a little bit more about what
we're doing.
The work that you're doing, because it's making a big impact.
You know, it really is. And I love when our clients, like, you know, one of the statistics that stands out in my mind is Mary, who got 36 enrollments in 3 weeks. And it was interesting because it was just about 3 weeks when she signed on with us where it's like her enrollment started to shift. Cindy also got 17 enrollments in 4 days for classroom she wasn't even getting any calls for. So we really teach you how to attract staff and clients to you. And one of the ways I do that is by shifting your mindset, shifting your vision, and really getting the energy that needs to be in place to happen so that you can feel excited and in love. We say in love again. With your business so that you can really sell your program to others. But one thing right now that we're doing is on my website at childcarebusinesssuccess.com, you can go and grab a free copy of the Childcare Business, the best-selling Childcare Business Success book. And I'm even selling signing the supply that we have in stock. All you have to pay is shipping and handling on this, and it will be sent to you. The mail's taking a little long right now. But if you go to childcarebusinesssuccess.com, you can grab a free Childcare Business Success book. And then also on my website are 5 different free offers, one being a free Getting Unstuck consultation. So if you just want the opportunity to chat and to see if we can help you, feel free to fill that out and you'll be able to get on my calendar. But one of the things, Michael, that we're doing now is I am reopening for the first time my calendar for just a handful of private clients, people who want to work with me one-on-one, because that's where I think magic happens very quickly. Mary, 36 enrollments in 3 weeks. So when we get on the phone and we have coaching calls, it happens fast. So I'm opening up just maybe 4 or 5 different spots for people to come and coach with me privately for a 90-day period, and we get you to the transformation that you want to experience. So all that's for you at childcarebusinesssuccess.com. Grab a free book. You just pay shipping and handling, and grab a Getting Unstuck consultation so we could really help you take it to the next level.
I'm going to put the little ticker here for Getting Unstuck call. I mean, and I know you haven't done private one-on-one stuff in a while. So
we haven't.
I mean, if anyone is looking at, jumping in, and there's, as you were saying, there's a whole slew of different areas that you can help with. But what I found that you're really great at doing is sizing up where can they get the biggest impact. And often it's not just, you need to throw dollars at something. It usually, not all the time, but just in doing these lives with you over the last 6 months or so, a lot of it, and if not even all of it, really often comes back to mindset and energy. And my energy the last week or so has been a little wonky, just feeling sore with this stupid, I'm playing like the woe is me game.
Michael's got a sling around.
Yeah, I've got a sling on.
One arm.
So had surgery 2 weeks ago. So I have to wear this for, 6 months or 4 months.
Oh my goodness.
Some long time, because there's still a fracture, or I don't know. So I was like playing the woe is me game. And what I've been realizing also though is that it's also now affecting my closing. I'm like, geez, the last like 5 calls that I've done, we're not driving in these new centers that would normally,
Yeah.
I mean, we're closing almost everyone that we're talking to. So a lot of the stuff that you do is mindset work and planning and just the attraction piece. Like more often than not, you're able to kind of like the whole getting unstuck call. There's something that is blocking you from really moving over that threshold. So getting you from where you are to where you want to go at times can be a lot easier than you think. So that's my plug to, I mean, you can't go wrong from leveraging one-on-one help. And I was totaling it up the other day. And it made me sick, but in a good way, but I was totaling up, I mean, how much have I invested in the last 3 or 4 years of training? And so I buy courses all the time. I am in 4 different masterminds for marketing agencies, for example. I've done one-on-one stuff, hired other consultants. And I mean, it was well over $250,000, well over that number. Usually upwards 75 to $100,000+, if not more a year. But if I look at the nuggets and just kind of those little things that have helped move me, often that whole phrase of little hinges swings big doors, it is what has propelled me. So definitely go to Childcare Business Success, grab a copy of Julie's book, schedule a Getting Unstuck call. I mean, she's the real deal, and the results candidly just simply speak for themselves.
Absolutely. And I love what you said about driving those results. And we actually have a whole drive method that we teach. Maybe we'll have to reveal that sometime on the show. But yeah, let's hear a little bit about you, Michael. What are you up to? And I know Michael is, and I don't know if you're still doing this, but you've been helping people get enrollments, and you've even been guaranteeing those enrollments.
Yes. So we have a couple of different programs. And what's working right now for centers is just needing, they need reliability. And there's definitely it's been a strange start to the year a little bit. And I think that people are second guessing and worrying about COVID again and really starting to, I don't want to say overthink it, because that's not my place to medically say, but I think there's still a lot of uncertainty with a lot of centers where they're kind of, they're not jumping all into 2021, if that makes sense. Like I feel like a lot of people are still, they're on the sidelines, their enrollment is still down. But when we kind of discuss, okay, great. I mean, here's what I'm recommending. You need to invest in Facebook ads and Google ads and fix your website and improve your brand and get your team better at closing and use a customer relationship management tool. And we kind of go through those motions and say, well, that's what's going to get you from point A to point B. And it's, okay, that sounds great. I don't know if I want to do the work, or they're just very nervous. So I guess that's another topic to kind of unpack with mindset and things like that. But we focus on giving the reliability of leads coming in on a regular basis. That normally is the first thing that we come in is, how can we drive you enrollments quickly? And I just did a really good internal presentation earlier called The Myth of Lead Quality. Ooh. And it's really all about, there's this common misconception, and this will tie into the phone stuff that we're going to talk about. But there's this common misconception that every family that fills out a form on your website or an ad or calls in, that a lot of center owners or directors, I mean, you think that it's a referral and you treat it like a referral. And that's always the number one source when I ask a center. I mean, how are you to get new business this year? Or what have you been doing in the past? Well, word of mouth and referrals. And that's fine, but that's not strategy. That goes back to the whole hope marketing of, I mean, I hope that these parents are going to be happy and they're going to refer me. And I hope that we'll go from 60 to 100 enrollments because people need childcare. But you have to, you got to take the bull by the horns and you got to take some action. So we kind of bridge the gap and then work with you to make sure that the leads are coming in and that your team is working the leads. And I'm finding, and I think that's going to be the biggest pivot that we make this year, is really trying to help. And that was one of the thoughts for our topic for today. It is just phone skills. I'm finding that the biggest, if not one of the biggest disconnects, is just how those leads again are being managed and the phone calls. And there's a huge disconnect.
Yeah. And there's a lot to it. And this is where Michael closes the gap, because it's one thing to get the leads in, but then what's the follow-up? And they always say the follow-up is in the fortune. And that's where Michael's going to help you close those gaps to make sure that the follow-up is being done. And I know that you take what you do to heart, to where you're actually following up with your clients to see, hey, how is that follow-up going? And where are there gaps? And how do we get you better results? So,
and we secret shop them. Their least favorite thing that we do is we secret shop.
Right.
And we usually do it in the first couple of weeks of working with them. Then we do it again after a month or two. And normally, sometimes it's the owner that's answering the phone. So we're secret shopping them. I'm not doing someone on our team. And then we're changing voices, changing phone numbers, emails. So you're never going to know that it's us.
Right.
And usually, again, tying into the whole phone conversation, usually it is frightening of just how they're responding, how you're responding, for example. And the good news is that, everything can be fixed. You didn't go to school to be a master sales coach or a master sale. Like, that wasn't normally it. If you have, early childhood education in your background, or, something like that, or you've got some of the different credentials and licenses. You normally aren't being taught how to close, or the psychology of sales, or it's just not one of those skills that traditionally is taught. But with a couple of tweaks and things like that, it usually can be evolved and improved for sure.
Yeah. And it even goes hand in hand with, even when we're looking at the phone skills, it goes hand in hand with your interpersonal skills. So if somebody is not good with their interpersonal skills or building relationships, it's going to be really hard to say, hey, answer that phone and be friendly and be nice and be cordial. So it really, to me, goes hand in hand with the whole culture of what your program is like. Like I said, I'm going to give you some really good tips for making those messages great, and maybe even getting people to answer those phones better. But it's so important. So, Michael, why don't you go ahead and give them, before we dive into this topic, where people can get more information about you?
Sure.
And your website.
Thank you. So our kind of step one is an enrollment acceleration call. So it is, I'll put the URL up here. Just
how exciting is that to excel your enrollment?
Localchildcaremarketing.com. We've been doing this for going on 11 years, and just exclusively work with childcare centers, preschools, daycares of all different shapes and sizes. So obviously both Julie and I are here to support, to help. So reach out. There's never a better time than now. Like, right. I love the start of the year. We're already 1 month in. It's things, and I don't want to paint a doom and gloom picture, but at the same time, doing the same thing that you've been doing over and over and over. It's the whole definition of insanity. Things aren't going to magically change. Owning a childcare center or multi-centers, it's getting more challenging. Licenses are getting stricter. There's more competition. There's, every single day, there's new centers that are popping up, whether they're, a home center, a big franchise brand, so it's going to continue to be more and more challenging.
Yeah.
Even if you have a foothold in the community for 50 years. So you've got to try new strategies and make those pivots. So,
and you really need somebody, a champion who's in your corner to say, yeah, come on, this is possible. And one thing I really want you to think about and get excited about is what is your profit potential? And I asked a question this morning in our Childcare Business Success group to say, well, if an enrollment, let's say, is worth $1,000 a month, what is your potential to bring new sales in? What's at stake here? And get excited about that number. So we have like $11,000, $15,000, $20,000. So this is what's capable of happening for you. And if these sales numbers are a possibility, right? If it is possible, then get on the phone with one of us and let's talk strategy in terms of how to bring this to your reality now, because every single month that you're not getting that 10,000 or that 5,000 or that 3,000, it's dripping out of your pocket. And like Michael said, the year's going by fast. So get excited about your number. Look at it in the face and say, yup. I want you to say this to your numbers, right? I want you to say, it is possible. I want you to say, you are possible, right? Because
Love it.
we really want to help you bring that to life. And you've got to look at those numbers and go, gosh, I want this to happen. Gosh, this is possible. But a lot of times we're curling up in what I call a fetal position and just saying, oh my gosh, there's so many enrollments I need and everybody else is going to the other place and I'm just small or I'm just this and we're thinking we're not good enough and that nobody's going to come our way. So we've got to start focusing on the possibility of what you can bring to life and get excited about that.
Well, and I won't name the center. So usually every other week I'll do kind of some video follow-ups with people that we've talked to that they haven't pulled the trigger. And it really is just hey, how can we be of service? And I've gotten 2 emails and they're both almost identical. But this one says, due to enrollments being so low and I'm short of staff, I've had to put the marketing on hold or on the back burner. And I haven't replied yet because I think I'm actually going to do a training and then send the training because I keep hearing things like this. So my question back, and it's not even just a pushy salesperson. Okay, well, what's the plan? What's the strategy? Like and as you just said, and it's a lot of centers they're definitely struggling, but
Yeah.
I mean, saying you're going to do nothing is not a plan. Like
Right.
You need to. What I try and push throughout my organization and my team is just action, action, action. I use the phrase on our show many times, sloppy success. I'm saying like action, or even if it's sloppy action is going to trump. So even if she didn't say, she's like, well, I can't afford the investment right now, but I'm going to try going through my local network of referrals. I'm going to put up flyers. I'm going to contact the schools. I'm going to do, a few of those things. I would have been fine with it.
Yeah.
But just saying enrollments are so low, short of staff, that to me is the recipe for disaster of nothing changing, no action, et cetera. So
Yeah, again, they're just going to be caught in a repeating pattern. And to me, it's like a turtle putting their head back in the shell, right? It's like, oh, I'm trying to cross the street, but a car's coming and I'm going to go right back to safety. And that's what a lot of people do, especially when we're trying to up level and when we're growing, is that if something becomes uncomfortable and we look at like, oh my gosh, I have to pay this. How am I going to pay this? And I have no staff. And now this is happening. How am I going to do this? It's easier to retreat and go back to that place of comfort than it is to stretch and to move beyond that. And that's why you work with Michael. That's why you work with myself, because you really see the value of somebody stretching you and guiding you and say, come on, let's walk across the street and let's see what's on the other side instead of retreating back to safety. And that's why a lot of people in life don't change, is because we go back to that safe place. But what if you can give it another month, give it another 2 months, give it another 3 months, look at the potential of your numbers. Look at the potential of what you have to lose. Look at the regrets that you would be facing if you didn't get those enrollments filled. And this is your life, and it's not like life is a forever lasting, ongoing thing. We have a limited time here to make an impact, and I'm reminded about that as people pass away in your life. You're like, wow, life is really short. You have a time right now to make an impact and to see if your dream can come to life. And if you're not ready to move forward now, then when will you be ready? What has to be right? What has to be in place for you to move forward? And what is it that would really propel you out of that place of safety to where you're really willing to take that risk? And and I can relate to this letter so much, Michael, because we hear it a lot too, and even in our childcare business success group. But man, it's time to stretch. The time is now, and the childcare programs that are going to be successful, in spite of whatever else is going on in the outside world, are the ones who are going to be like, yep, it is possible. Here's the number, and I am going to stretch. Let's go. Let's stretch me.
Love it. No, that, I mean, that it's just,
Send them this video.
yeah, as I'm like, as I always do, I'm processing. I'm like, yeah, I should have said those things also. But I
Yeah.
had another call yesterday, and they need the help, and all this extra money coming in for after school care. Like, we can hold another 50 kids, and almost the ratios are 1 to 10 for after school care. It's easy. It like just, and then the pushback on kind of talking numbers, and well, I've got a meeting with my accountant, and my accountant is saying I need to cut back everything, and
Oh yeah, pull back, retreat,
yeah,
turtle.
yeah, and it's just as you were saying. I mean,
Calling out.
You gotta stretch,
Yeah.
and are you willing to fight for your business? And I mentioned a while ago that my master's dissertation that I did was all about small business failure. And the reason I decided to get the master's was that it was on a bucket list, and similar to what I try and practice what I preach. If I'm saying I'm encouraging our centers to take, decisive action and just move. And I'm saying, well, I've been talking about getting my master's for 5 years, and I'm like, research, enrolled, done, let's go. I interviewed, 100 businesses of different shapes and
I remember
sizes.
when you were going through that.
Yeah, so about small business failure. And one of the biggest things, there was so many ahas that I learned, but one of the biggest things that I learned was what I deemed in the paper called the ripple effect. So if your center, let's say you retreat, and you just say, well, I hope that the government's going to have another round. Some more PPP money, and then hopefully there's a third round, and maybe another grant or loan, and maybe that'll continue to happen. I'm hopeful. Like all of you, I have staff, and our revenue is down, so I applied for the PPP and got the first round as well. So if there's money like that, highly encourage you to go and grab it, and almost every center that I've spoken with has done so. But hoping that those things are going to continue, as Julie was saying, you've got to stretch yourself now. And it's not that I want you to think like, what's the worst that can happen? But a lot of these business owners that I interviewed that ended up having to close up shop, they're like, I didn't think it was they didn't start the business to think they were going to go out of business. And then that destroyed marriages, lives of staff, the community. So if you really want to go all in 2021, you've got to be willing to fight for this. You've got to be willing to do things a little bit differently.
Yes.
Doing things the same way that you've been doing for the last 5 or 10 years of you throw up a sign, and then all of a sudden you're at a wait list, and that stuff just is not, it hasn't been working for the last year or two.
Yeah.
I've been seeing it, and we've talked to centers that they used to always have a wait list, and now they don't. And others, like, I hear it again and again and again. And it's okay, Michael, what do we have to do? Because we're not going to go under. We're going to continue serving the community. We're going to continue this mission that we started. We're going to continue providing jobs. That you got to stretch, and you got to start taking some action.
You got to put on that Rocky theme song, and just kick some butt. Really, now is the time. And it's also really important, on another note here, is your accountant or your husband or your best friend or your mother or whoever it is that you seek this advice from, and their name is not on ownership for your business. They are not the owner of your business. They could advise you in different areas, but if your accountant says, oh no, you can't invest in that program, or you can't get coaching, you might want to think about your choice of an accountant, because they're just looking at numbers. And when they see numbers and they're getting fearful, they're seeing the scarcity, they're not seeing the potential that you as the owner have to see. You've got to remain in that visionary position to where you see the possibilities when nobody else does. And that's why it's so powerful when you get involved in a coaching program like mine, or work with Michael, is that you're going to have somebody who's going to be that champion in your corner saying, you know what, it is so possible, and here's what I see. Because you've got to have somebody who can see that when you can't see it yourself. You got to have somebody who believes in you when you don't believe. But if everybody around you is going, yeah, right, retreat, now's the time to pull back. And granted, there might be some frivolous stuff going on, but if it's something in your heart of heart that you know is going to grow your business, they are not there to shut down those decisions. They should be doing your books, balancing your numbers, but do not put your business or your financial or your decisions that determine the success of your business in their hands.
I'm almost thinking
that's tough love.
No, it is, and
I'm feeling tough today, so I just had a
and I
workout.
think we might as well kind of continue along this conversation that we've been having the last 20 or so minutes. Rather, unless you think we should. Yeah, I don't know if it necessarily makes sense to jump back over to phone skills. What we've been talking about, mindset. We've been talking about advisors. We've been talking about the turtle and retreating versus stretching yourselves. So I'm almost thinking we kind of continue down this path.
We definitely can. And if you're tuning in, and you're getting some good stuff from this, leave me an aha or ask a question. And maybe it's a great time where we could get some questions answered as well. But man, if you're feeling that your mindset is weak and you're not confident in your business, in the direction where you're going, it's not the time to pull back. It's the time to really make forward momentum happen. And that's the way that you're going to gain a new sense of confidence, is by moving forward and really recognizing the possibilities of what you can create. And now is a time of creation. It may look a different way, but it is such a time of creation that you still have to look at and write it down if you haven't done so, that it's possible. And if you ever feel like giving up or like you have to pull back from something is going to be a good strategy for you, ask yourself, is it possible? Is it possible that this strategy is going to work? And see what your gut says. Do you get a yes? Do you get a no?
Well, the other thing that kind of goes along with what you were just sharing is you also need, at least, even if it's a rough sketch, what's the plan for the year? And are you on plan? Are you off plan? And even if it's a yellow, red, green, for example, of, let's say you've got 5, we'll just call them goals for now. 5 things. So great. I want to open up a second location. I want to recruit 3 new team members. I want to be able to take out or deploy profit first, which I'm a huge proponent of. And so whatever those goals are, you need some kind of system and methodology so that you're going through the motions, and you're, at the very least, you're thinking about them monthly, weekly, whatever cadence works for you. Some people even daily. And I mean, as I'm saying this out loud, I know that I need to kind of sharpen my axe on this a little bit, because I set out my plan for this year and I have not looked at that plan in the last month. And I know that I'm already off course from on the plan, but just being able to at least continue to remind yourself, and then maybe something does need to change on that plan. But if are you moving the needle? Is everything in the red because of X? You're just not working on the things that you told yourself you would? And that, more often than not, is one of the biggest things that you can start to shift to move you in the right direction. Obviously, the mindset piece is among the most important, if not the most important. But when I look at my week, my day, when I start to get off track, it's I'll plan what I kind of call the big 3 for the week. And I just started doing this again because I knew that I was off track, and then I'm off track. And I started to write down every little thing that I'm doing each day. Like, I'm down to the minute, in the sense of I'm scrolling through Instagram, I'm looking on Facebook, ordered a salad for lunch, like whatever the things are, and starting to find, okay, great. Well, if I said my big 3, one of my big 3s was for the week was closed 5 new childcare centers. Okay, do the activities match that particular goal? Well, geez, I checked my email 11 times. Like, why am I checking my email obsessively 11 times. So
Right.
just something to kind of think about, that life is always going to get in you. There's always going to be some, like when people always say, oh, I mean, how's everything going? And I mean, I can always say I'm never going to be not busy. Like you get to choose. I mean, there's always 1.5 million other things that you can do,
Yeah.
new products to build, new strategies, new marketing to deploy. I mean, there's always going to be something.
Yeah.
But you want to make sure that you're just being more conscious of, are you choosing to work on the things and put your brain power behind the things that you know are going to move the needle? Or are you just kind of going through those motions and like, again, I keep saying hope, that you like just hope something will end up changing.
Yeah, and it's so crucial to identify your objectives. And up on my wall, I've got some big Post-it size sheets of paper where I've listed out some objectives in some of the major areas of my life. And that's really what I'm moving towards every month. And I've always struggled with being the person who plans for a year and puts it all down. That's not me, but it is me to identify, well, what are my big objectives? And what I do want to say with planning and with mindset, there's one thing that you've got to do. And if you're tuning into this, whether you're tuning in live or to the replay, and you want to know what this one thing is that you got to do, give me an, oh yeah, Julie, we got to know that. There's one thing that you've got to do. And you've got to recognize when your small successes are happening. Because even like if you sign up with a service like Michael and you just look at, oh, well, we haven't gotten the 70 enrollments that we need yet, but you got more calls. And you got this and you got that. Those are all little teeny tiny successes. What I would be doing is writing those down, whether it's in your planner or on a wall. But you first got to recognize the small successes, because I'm amazed at the owners that I work with where it's like, oh, yeah, that was a success. And I wasn't even thinking about that. So you've got to write down the small successes that you're experiencing so that you can see how those add up a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, a month later, 2 months later, and go like, oh, things are changing. But if you're not celebrating the little successes that you're seeing, then you're going to be like, ugh, it's not working. We're going to give up. So start writing down your successes and let that be part of your planning process so that you can see where you are having success and what you can keep doing to get more success. Because wouldn't it be amazing if more calls started coming in and then you amplify that and then this next thing is happening, or with staff, you're implementing this technique and the next thing you know, it's like, woo, I rewrote that ad and I got 9 applicants. But people will often tell me, but Julie, I only got this. I only got this. And I want you to scratch that from your dialogue. I only got this. I needed this and I only got this. That's the universe sending it to you. And if you're not really excited about that small thing that just got sent to you, guess what? You're not going to get any more.
And I apologize if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. Shalinda Terrell says, oh yeah, Julie. And
hey, Shalinda.
Chandra, sorry, Shalinda. I need some more coffee this afternoon. Chandra, sorry. We've created a weekly goal chart for enrollment. It's on our office wall. So I love it. And the thing that I'm also thinking of, so and like you, I have ideas for the year, but there's no way that I could plan for the entire year.
Yeah.
None of
and
them.
my sister is somebody who could plan for the entire year. And I always envied her. I'm like, I can't do that.
And I think it's more just like right now, and it's not going to change probably all year. There's just still so much uncertainty day to day and weirdness with everything. So, I mean, one day there could be $100,000 grant that's going to every child care center, or the next day the licensing requirements could change. And then a month later, schools are closed again and your centers are full because the parents want a quiet place for their, like you got to be able to be fluid. I was using that word earlier on a couple of conference calls. Maybe that's
I like it. I think fluidity is an amazing word.
Kind of my word of the day for today was we were talking through looking at a particular strategy, and I had kind of a line in the sand, and I was like, I want this done in the next 60 days, and I wanted a hard cutoff, and a couple of people were kind of pushing back, and they're like, well, what if we roll with it a little bit? And I'm like, okay, fine. Let the compromises will be fluid and we'll let the data kind of dictate things. But the other thing as you were talking that was kind of coming to mind, one of my kind of top things for the year and my top thing for kind of Q1 is just to kind of get all my personal financial stuff in order. Like I should be more organized and I should have more money and better investment, et cetera, et cetera.
Mm-hmm.
So, I talked to a couple different financial advisors, and the one that I enjoyed talking to the most was like, this stuff isn't hard. And it's not really a sexy topic. It's really about, kind of compound interest essentially is what he was. Like it's just the little things that are compounding daily. So it's the same. I have the same conversation all the time with, so our target was 15 enrollments and we got 5. And I'm like, you haven't enrolled anyone in 3 months and you just got 5 and you're sitting here complaining. So it's those moments of just compounding, because the 5 compounds, then you add another and now it's 6. And then the 5, they're not just going to pay you for 1 month. If it is that $1,000 a month, that's $5,000 in February. And then March comes around and it's another $5,000 and then they're going to refer somebody to you because you're going to do an accept. So like it is those little habits, and that's I'm typically go through themes of books that I'm reading. So now I'm reading The Power of Now, Eckhart Tolle, another book on, or maybe it's like The Power of Habit, like all kind of books relating to habits. And it literally is those tiny things that you continue to do consistently. But Julie hit the nail on the head of, you've got to be practicing the gratitude. You got to be celebrating those wins, because your team plays off of your energy. And as I'm talking here, my energy wasn't amazing on my team call earlier. So I had a little fender bender yesterday in the snow. We were sitting in a red light and somebody blew through the red light and slid on the snow and ended up hitting my car. Oh, geez. So thankfully, so in the moment I was like, oh, you got to be kidding me. And, but then as you start reflecting, like, well, that could have been a lot worse because I had my 2 kids in the car. And if I would have been driving, they would have hit the side of the car and probably hit my son. And but you start to see, where was I going with this? Oh, just the energy aspect is everything. Like your team, they're always watching those visual cues. Yeah. And as the leader, the director, the owner, whatever your job title is, they're going to play off of that. And you very well could end up ruining someone's day, or like all of a sudden, because you're a little snippy to one of your teachers, they get snippy with a kid or a parent. And then now like it does
snowball. It does snowball. Yeah, and those are great points. And I'm sorry to hear about your accident yesterday. That's never any fun.
Yeah, it's okay though.
But I want you to understand too, our mind, right? So it's like when you fall short of a result, you're not celebrating the result that you did get. So Michael's saying you got 5 enrollments. Your goal was to get 15. If you go to a mindset that says we didn't meet our goals, then what you're going to be doing is creating this whole chain reaction of negative thoughts that are going to start connecting inside of your head. Those thoughts might be like, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. What are we doing wrong? There's something wrong with me. We're not as great as, people would like us to be, whatever it might be. But if you go in your mind to this other place, this visionary place that says, you know what? We got 5 enrollments, and you celebrate, you have a party, or you go get a massage, or you take a bath, or you have just a little drink of water and woohoo, cheer yourself on. Your link of other thoughts is going to be different. We are good enough. We are smart enough. We've got something amazing to offer. We are great. We are profound. We are making an impact. They'd be crazy not to enroll with us. So when you come to a result in your life, you could go down one path or you could go down another path. And remember that one thought is going to create this chain reaction of connected thoughts to that thought that you hang on to and that thought that you think. And that is so crazy powerful and so impactful. So if you could catch yourself at the point where you're going, oh, we only got one application or we only got one new enrollment, and you go, wait a second, I have to stop myself there. And instead, I'm going to think, woo, we got one. We got one. Maybe it's the right one. I mean, how many do you need? You only have one position open, right? And sometimes we have that in schools where it's like you only have one position open, but you're still like, well, we only got one applicant. Well, maybe it's like the best applicant you ever got. So shifting your energy will do, like Michael said, a lot for your team and so much for your success and where your business has the possibility to go and where your business has the possibility to grow. So if you're really in it to win it, now is the time to really get your mindset right and get yourself to the place where it's like, of course, it's possible. It's going to happen.
And I think, I mean, that to me, that's the key.
Yeah,
is that
so important.
A lot of childcare center owners are your energy, it is just not on point right now, and that is then kind of hindering from you seeing what this year can potentially unfold for you. Because I will tell you and promise you that both Julie and I work with centers that are kicking fill in the blank and taking names. They're enrolling
little booty.
They're like just like they're crushing it. Like we've got one center, they're in Texas. I mean, they just had an amazing January. I mean, they've got 5+ locations. Their parents are in love with their center. They love their team. Like they're just humming. And it doesn't mean that you have to have 5 or 10 or 15 locations. To me, there are really two different kinds of center owners. There's I guess 3. There's the family center owners that they kind of want to produce some extra income for their family. They want to make a difference, and they want to that's where they want to stay, which is totally great. And that's the strategy that they want to deploy. And you have the other center that maybe they started off as a family center owner. And if they didn't, they've got one location and they want to have the one location and they want to keep that humming. And then you have the third center that they tend to be more aggressive and they don't want one location. They want their brand and they want to make an impact as far and wide as they can. And maybe their goal is 10 locations in 5 years or whatever that is. All 3 of those are perfect strategies, goals and targets, but you've got to know which of those 3 buckets you fit into. Mm-hmm. And then you got to allow yourself to kind of see that possibility unfold for this year. So maybe you're that family center that you've got 2 enrollments, but you're licensed for 8, for example. You're like, I don't know where these other 6 are going to come from. And I'm barely hanging on by a thread, but you've got to be able to start to see the possibilities. Mm-hmm. That's the first thing. And then from there, it's taking those decisive and strategic actions, even if they're those small actions I said earlier. I mean, little hinges swing big doors. Small little activities can start to compound. And you don't have to fix every little thing immediately. Yeah. Like there's always going to be, maybe we should improve the parking lot, or we should improve the welcome experience or the onboarding or our hiring process, or we should reevaluate different curriculums. There's always going to be something to grab your attention. Yeah. But if you can paint in your mind and start to see the possibility of this just unfolding to be an amazing year for you, with everything starting to fit into the puzzle and all those pieces coming together, and paying you out financially quite well and keeping you in a great mind, and your energy then it is improved. And even just talking about this, my energy is improved. I'm feeling it. So it's like, because we're all guilty of it. Maybe not you, because you're so darn good with managing energy and being conscious of if you find something happening. But I know that my energy can go kind of up and down and such. But
Well,
If you,
and here's the thing, if I may say this, is that, when I think about life and circumstances, and I've been through a lot, divorced, two abusive relationships, widowhood, lots of stuff in corporate America. I've been through a lot. And life is always going to bounce around you. And you can think about all these bouncing balls. But the thing is, you don't have to necessarily become one of the bouncing balls. You can become the steady force. You can become the rock in your life. You can become the one who stays steady with the vision that you want to bring to life. Everything else can bounce around you. Staff member can go crazy and you could go, oh, isn't that interesting? Crazy staff member today. All right, I'm staying the course. It doesn't mean that your emotions have to become that person's emotions, or parent has a bad day, parent drops out, parent disenrolls, whatever it might be. You could still stay steadfast and true to that vision. And in our campus, we really work with you to be able to do that, because you could be the rock in your own life, where it's like everything else is bouncing like crazy around you. You're going, oh my goodness, how am I ever going to get control of this? But you're able to stay the course and work towards that vision, and confidently know that your vision is going to come to life. It's possible.
Love it.
Yeah.
You got me excited for today.
And when you go to childcarebusinesssuccess.com, and if you haven't grabbed your free book yet, grab it. And I'm even going to sign it for you. And I'm going to put those words in the book for you. I'm going to sign it. I'm going to say, it's possible, so that you never, ever, ever forget that. And I'm not speaking from a place of having a Pollyanna life. I'm not. I'm coming to you from somebody who's had a lot of things happen in my life, starting from a young age. And in spite of that, there's a bigger vision to cultivate. There is a bright future. There are things that you can just be so excited about. Even if people around you can't see it, you can stay steadfast and true to your vision happening.
Love it.
It's possible.
It is possible. I like it. I was laughing when I was reading some of the comments that Chandra said, or wine. So wine is always
wine is good.
Yeah, wine is good as well. There was some good wine this evening. That's a good reminder.
And mine is a cheaper consultant than I am. So
very true. Yeah, you and me both. Very true.
Right.
Well, I hope that everyone enjoyed today's episode. I know we made a little bit of a pivot, so maybe we'll.
Oh my gosh! No, we made a total detour.
Yeah, we did.
We're sorry. We're sorry.
I think I was downplaying it a little bit, but
next week we'll talk about phone skills, and next week I'll reveal to you some secrets on how to get people really excited when they answer that phone. I'm sure Michael's got a lot of tricks up his sleeves too.
But when I think about it, I mean, we can always give. I mean, you and I have so many tactics. I mean, we could sit here and talk for 25 hours on tactics, and literally, I can give you our phone script of this is exactly what you need to do to close more. So I can do that. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's that whole, there's all different kinds of, phrases and such. I mean, you can, what is it? Move a horse or take a horse to water. You can't make him drink. I mean, there's only so much, but if you still are having your doubts in your mind that, well, geez, we're there again. I unfortunately, like Julie, many times as well, talk to centers that they've gotten beaten up substantially and are getting crushed financially, and those are not fun conversations to have. But if you can start to paint that possibility and know that it's possible, childcare is a recession-proof business. So even if the economy were to take a nosedive, parents are going to need childcare. There are unfortunately more childcare centers closing now than there ever have been in the history of childcare.
I heard 1 in 5 right now is actually closing.
I'm even hearing even higher numbers. Even if you say, 20%, I'm hearing 33%, 1 in 3. Yeah. I'm not trying to paint a doom and gloom picture. I'm trying to paint the picture that if you know that you can get through this, if you know that, well, yeah, I'm in a recession-proof industry. Parents are still going to need childcare. A lot of centers are just deciding to close up shop, and you know your why of, why you started this business, the impact that you want to make, the impact you want to make with your team. the impact I'm making with my team, transparently speaking, I've been more excited about that lately than the impact I'm making with our clients. I mean, I love helping our clients and centers, and I know that impact, but I've been getting more excited about, I mean, XYZ team member that had no kind of online skills, and now they're able to do all these other things. So that's my little soapbox. And as Chandra said, you've got to hold on tight, keep moving forward. So I would agree with you on that, and know that it's going to be all right. And Julie said it is possible. So I know that we always like to end with a quote or something like that. I mean, we've obviously given a lot of amazing quotes for today. I'm going to re-put up both of our URLs on here. So
okay, great.
If Julie can help you in any way, go grab a copy of her book, childcarebusinesssuccess.com.
Yes.
And
we're opening up too, just a handful of slots. If you want to work privately with me, if you want my voice in your ear weekly, cheering you on to your vision, now is the time, because we're only taking on a handful of private clients. We also have group programs, but I'm really excited about opening up my calendar to work privately with just a handful of people. So let me know, and grab your free book too.
Definitely. And I'll throw my URL up here again. It's just localchildcaremarketing.com. We have a few more slots to drive some centers, some new enrollments, fix your website, improve your brand, solve your negative review problems. So if we can be of service, we are here as well.
Yeah, and get on the phone and just have a conversation with Michael. And you don't know, one bright idea just might come from that conversation that might make it worth picking up that phone and booking your session.
Love it.
Yeah. So do you want me to state a quote?
Please.
And it's one that I've shared before. Is that okay, you think?
Of course.
All right. So this is Henry Ford, and I think it just fits really great with everything we've been talking about today. But he said, whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And 100%. I want you to think about that, and think about what thoughts are you going to dwell on, because that is going to drive the direction of the reality that you create for yourself. And if there's anything that I can share with you in closing, is that I want to encourage you to use your imagination to cultivate a picture, a vision beyond present circumstances that you hang on to tightly in your mind, that you ask yourself every day, but is it possible?
Love it. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. Thank you for the owners, directors, and so on that were commenting. And it's always fun to get some interaction going. And for everyone listening to the replay, Julie and I will be standing by, happy to have some conversations to help you move forward faster. Because as Julie said several times today, it is possible. So we will see you back here next week, Wednesday. And we look forward to helping you in any possible way that we can. Have a wonderful rest of your Wednesday, a great rest of your week. We'll see you here again.
Big hugs, everyone.